Uh, okay. Opening ArcMap, I'm going to answer this question that I sent you guys. We're gonna, it doesn't matter, I will just show you. The first step is to find some oil tanks and then digitize the points and then add in the radiuses and create the oil tanks and do the same for the pathways. So we'll just run through that. So I'm just gonna make a new folder for final example. I'll probably want you to make a folder for your final stuff. And then go into the folder and make a database, file geodatabase, call it final prep, and then go into the database and make a new feature class that is a point tank centroids. I'm gonna have you guys pick the WGS 84 when you make these things. I'm not sure if I said that or previously. Is that what you've picked in the past?
You did tell us that the satellite imagery is in.
So pick WGS 84, and I will answer that question again when we take the final. So it's not something I'm expecting you to remember. And then you can either add your field here for a radius, or you can do it when you get out of here. If you were going to do it once you're in ArcMap, of course, you could go in here and say, hit the little button and say add field and go through that menu. We also want to make a new line, pathways, lines, polyline. Oh, it's just line feature. WGS84. And then I guess you could call it radius. Because it's really what it is the radius of the polygon that's going to be generated after you do the buffer. So, all right, now let's add in a map and find some tanks. Do the ones in Boston, maybe. Well, no, we'll do the ones in Portland. Just to be consistent. Alright, I'm going to do these guys. Okay, editor. Remember I told you the trick. If I want to start editing centroids, I'm going to do the edit features and then start editing. And then if you don't have the window, it's right here on your editor toolbar to go in and pick your centroids. What I would probably do is draw them first. And then I'd go back and select ones that were all the same size and add in their width or their radius all at the same time. I'm not doing a very good job of being accurate here, but that's okay. Even though I told Nicole it was not okay. Being slightly inaccurate with my centroids. In the future, you'd want to zoom in far and some high quality aerial imagery there actually. Okay, so those are my tanks. Save that, and then I should be able to just edit my pathways here. All right, so let's look. I'm just going to do some of the roads around here. Here's one. Whoop. you know, in the final, I'll kind of describe exactly what I'd be hoping for. Just kind of randomly. All right, that's pretty good. So then I'm going to put in the widths for them all. Visible. All right, let's do the lines first. Looks like I have two types of lines. I have like a regular road width, which is about, usually a road is like 30 feet, but in this case, we only want half the road. So this is actually, I should fix this one. We do want it to run down the middle of the street. And I'm going to take my measure tool, which is on the tools here, and I'm going to measure the meters. I think we figured out that when we do the buffer, it's in meters. So from the center of the road out to the side, it's about 3.5 meters that way, 3 that way. So we'll say that those road ones are 3 meters. And there's two ways I could update that. Oh. There's two ways I could update that information. One is just by selecting those and going into the table. And I only selected them so I could see which ones I should get the 3 meters. So I'm just using the arrow keys. And then just by default, I know that the other one, which is probably about 1 meter, is the other two that I drew. But, you know, if I was doing it right, I would. Oh, not Z. If I was doing this right, I would have zoomed in and I would have measured it and made sure that it's only 1 meter. Well, it's like 1.5. All right. So, and you might notice I'm saving my edits often. You want to do that just in case your ArcMap crashes. It's better to save the data than it is the MXD usually. All right, now for the tanks, I will select the similarly sized ones. Let's do the big ones first. Looks like about 20 meters, something like that for the bigger ones. And the medium ones, looks like it's about 16, 15, we'll say. So I can either type them in like that, or I can right click on the field name and say field calculator and just do 15. Now, it only works without quotes because it's a number field, but if it was text, I would need to put quotes around that. So then I got these little guys. We're just going to say that they're all the same at this point. But you guys know what I mean here. We're just going to do all the rest, I think. As we'll say, just 10. So we can speed this up. All right, so now we're going to do the fancy buffer tool. Stop editing. So we can either select buffer from there, or we can use that search function. So for the tank centroids, we're gonna first of all make sure that you save the output in the database you made, because as Ian found out, if you save it in the default geodatabase and then you send me the database, the data won't be there because it's in the default geodatabase. Or if you switch computers, it won't be there because it's on the old computer. Um, and give it good names, like with the operation in it and the layer names in it. Actually, if I was going to give this a really good, yeah, you can just call it buffer because it doesn't have a uniform buffer for everything. Because I would just do the field, and I would select radius, and that's all I need to do. Great. And then for the pathways, we'll do a buffer on the lines. And again, it's going to make me have to go pick it again. Pathways on the field, that is the radius. All right. So easy way to create polygons like that. And that's a pretty clean geodatabase. If we go look at, you know, just, like everything's named pretty well, you can kind of tell what you did based off of this. Okay, so now for the analysis. Oh no, one more layer to make is our sensitive areas layer. So for this one, we're going to make a polygon. So we're going to make a type field. And we're just going to outline residential and commercial areas around it. Edit, start editing. Use my create features. All right, let's outline. Looks like this is a neighborhood here. So is this. So is this. And then it looks like this is kind of a, might be some shops. Like I think I've been here, so I know that is some shops. Same with this little area. You could say this would be maybe industrial problems here. And same with this. And I'm not doing this very accurately, but that's okay. And then maybe, usually what I do is draw that stuff and then come back and be like, all right, these were the two that were industrial. And I would just say type industrial, and then I would copy paste that, make sure they're spelled the same. And then for these two were commercial, and these were residential. And save. And of course, I'll have you make a map of this stuff at the end. So if you did, actually, a good way to check that you got everything spelled the same is to do symbology on your categories for your type. Because it would, like if you spelled residential in 2 ways, it would give you 4 options. Because it'd be like, well, what about residential with like an AIL, you know, at the end. All right, so now we're ready for analysis, right? So we are going to simulate a 1,000-foot blast from these tanks. So we're going to buffer it, and we're going to do a dissolved buffer just for one big area that's around any tank. And then we're going to intersect that with the sensitive areas to get the, and then we're going to intersect that with sensitive areas, then we're going to recalculate the area into a new field for the area. And then from there is where we get to decide whether or not we need to do a summary. But I'll show you guys how to do the summary. All right, so we're going to do a buffer from the tanks. And again, we got to rename the output. Tank buffer, call it tank explosion, 1,000 feet. And I will do a dissolve type all instead of none. I don't get a bunch of overlapping. Oh, put my value. Okay, everything was affected. This is a big crisis. Oop. All right, except for this little piece of residential out here, they're going to be fine. We're going to do a intersect between the sensitive areas and the explosion, which will give us new little polygons for everywhere that they overlap, which is the, of course, most, this is where your understanding as an advanced GIS practitioner comes into play. Tank explosion, 1,000 feet, and then we'll say INT, sensitive areas. Remember, that's kind of, that's how I like to do the intersect. It's just easy to read. And it will come out, and it will just look like the sensitive areas, but you'll notice, since we had this little piece that was outside, as we thought, they are okay on that little corner there. But everything else is good.
Was actually in the road.
Yes. Uh-oh. Are you telling me that? Oh, no. It's really only this one tree is going to be fine. So, luckily, our analysis will show that. Not a complete disaster. So, all right, but then if we look at the table here, if we keep our numbers down, like in terms of size of things and number of things, it's pretty easy to, let's say, it would be pretty easy to sort this and get a total area. But first of all, we have to calculate the area. I forgot. So let me just do that first. So we got to make a new field. You'll notice these areas don't really make any sense, so just ignore them. And it's kind of the rule of we always want to make a new field to calculate area so we can control what units it's in. Although I don't know why it doesn't want me to. Oh, I gotta stop editing. So in order to make a new field, you have to stop editing. I would not take points off for that. Maybe I would. I probably would, actually, now that I've told you and reiterated. It's just a, it's a long story about why that's a problem, but it's a legitimate problem. Well, that's interesting. Whoa. That's weird. Data got wiped away. Let's run it again. This is about the time when I would recommend saving your MXD. Alright, so if you need to rerun a tool, you can do geoprocessing, results, intersect, try 2. The output. Alright. And we're back. Okay, so we need to add a new field to capture the area. So we're going to add a new field that is a double number, right? And we'll call it, I didn't ask for a certain values, so you would have had to pick, let's just say square feet. And then once you have that, you right click and calculate geometry. And you make sure you do, oh, area is disabled. I know why. So since area is disabled, we have to put it into a projected coordinate system. So I'll tell you this if you ask me again in the final. So you would just go to the properties of the layers and say coordinate system. In this case, instead of now the thing we built the data in, we're going to project it so we can get areas. And so all I did, I just switched that, and I think that's going to be all I need to do. And so you can see nothing much changed, but it should now allow me to do, yeah, so now it knows I can use the coordinate system of the data frame, and I can get area in square feet. You guys shouldn't have to know that, so. But now, you know, since what I was saying before is like, all right, since there's only 2 of these things, these 2 commercial, instead of doing a summary, and really if there were 50 of these commercial things, you could just sort it by commercial, and you could select the 2, and then right click on square feet and get statistics to get the sum of the commercial total square footage, right? And then, for example, you do residential, you'd click on all 3, and since they're selected, you would get the sum of all 3. But the summary, all the summary does is if you click on type, and you're going to say, I want to know by type how much footage there is. So you right click on that, and you can say summarize. And it's already going to know you want to summarize by type. And I'll only ever do something probably that's a field that's like a type field. So it's kind of a typical thing to do. And then the only thing you have to do is tell it, all right, well, what do you want to get like a sum on, right? And you know that you want it on your square feet. So if you open it, since it's a number, you can tell it you want a sum. You get the average. You know, you can get the minimum, maximum of that. So let's get like a min and max. And the sum. And then it says, I'm going to make this table, and I'm going to put it in your geodatabase. But and then it says, do you want to actually see the table? And you say, yep. And it goes into your table of contents. You can look at it, and it has some same numbers I just calculated. Yeah, the max or the min or whatever, but it also has the count. So that would answer all of those questions all at once. So, but you could get all those answers if you didn't remember how to do the summarize anyway. It's just kind of a shortcut.